All right, the hour of 6:30 having arrived, I'd like to call the regular Plan Commission meeting of the City of Columbus for Thursday, August 14th to order. Mike, will you call the roll?
Traxler. Bright.
Here.
Bajewski.
Here.
Monday.
Here.
Myers.
Present.
Albright.
Present.
Finkler.
Here.
We have a quorum.
All right, this meeting was posted in accordance with all the applicable state laws. There's a agenda in your packets. Please take a minute and I'll entertain a motion to approve or amend.
A move to approve the agenda.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Great. Same with the minutes. Minutes are in your packet. I'll entertain a motion to approve or amend.
I'm making a motion to approve.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? All right, minutes from July 10 are approved. Okay, now on to new business. We have a couple public hearings tonight on a couple of different items. The first public hearing is for a conditional use permit for outdoor storage for Core and Main. That's the name of the business, right? Core and Main on Industrial Drive.
The old bowling alley.
Right. All right, I'll open the public hearing. Is there any member of the public that wishes to make a comment on this item?
There's no one signed up to speak.
No one has signed up to speak, all right. Second call for public comment on this item. Were there anything sent by email or
No comments?
Or mail.
Phone or email.
Okay. Third and final ask for any member of the public wishing to speak on the conditional use permit for Core and Main. Hearing none, this public hearing is closed. Moving on to the agenda item for consider and take action regarding the conditional use permit for outdoor storage in a light industrial zone for Core and Main. Let's see, staff report is in our packet. This seems pretty typical for
Yeah,
light industrial.
yeah, it's, in my report, I mentioned, a particular fence height. The applicant made his specific request, by an email within the last week since the packet went out. He's really only looking for 6 feet, a fence 6 feet high, but the district allows up to 10. So you can approve up to 10, and so that, you know, if you would wanna do that, he's only requesting 6. But if at some point he wants to go higher, then that would be in the conditional use permit. Wouldn't have to come back. One thing you'll notice, the location of the fence around the storage area, it covers essentially the industrial drive side and the side yard side. However, it does not cover the 151 side, and the ordinance mentions that, so if you look up on the screen, the fence ends right here, and then this area here is, not fenced. I included pictures in the staff report from, 151 in the summertime. You cannot see into this lot at all with the leaves on the trees. More than likely, it's very different, come winter time. One thing to keep in mind that 151, when you're going northbound, you're kind of angling away, visually, you're kind of angling away from that property from your sight line. And if you're coming southbound, because it's a curve, you're kind of angling away as well. My guess is the applicant, just would, it's probably a cost-saving move, on this. But it's kind of up to you on what you guys would like to do on this. It's just outdoor storage for their pipes. So the fence would shield the pipes that they make and install sewer and water main type pipes and that kind of stuff. So that's gonna be stored outside. And so, this gray area is the building, and so this would all be outdoor storage.
And there is a height restriction?
Yes, up to 10 feet, in an industrial area. He's requesting 6 feet.
The trees that buffer it on the one side, are those on his property or are those on?
Yes.
Okay. Just wonder if you're depending on the trees to be part of a natural fence, if there'd be a stipulation that they should stay, you know, just in case.
Good point.
Not to be ticky-tacky, but the ordinance says it's a conditional use allowed if it's privacy fence. I mean, it specifies privacy
Yes,
fence.
It needs to be a privacy fence.
Yeah, okay. We're wandering into variance territory, not conditional use permit territory by varying the language of the ordinance, is what I'm a little concerned about.
I wondered the same.
Yeah. Yeah.
Are they planning on stacking higher than 6 feet piping? Then you're not going to see
Not
any.
in my mind, not that I understand.
Yeah.
And they can't by ordinance.
Okay. So at 70 miles an hour, you're going to drive it up 151, you're not even going to notice it.
If they were to stack it higher than 6 feet, that would be an enforcement action by the city to store things below the fence or extend the fence higher.
Right.
And the only thing you see out there is a Lyco.
I don't see a problem with it.
So, yeah, I mean, I understand they're wanting to use the trees in lieu. Is that something they could apply for a variance for?
Sure, they could apply
Okay.
for that.
Then
My sense is they want to move forward with the project.
I understand that, and I'd be inclined to approve their CUP with the provision that it's entirely enclosed with a privacy fence and they can kind of move forward with both things. If they want to apply for a variance and get moving on their project sort of at the same time, that kind of keeps them
You know,
on track.
And if you want to make your motion that way, I would, try to somehow word it that include fencing to the north, to that edge of the pavement at the northwest corner of the building. That, I don't know if that makes sense to you guys, so like here.
I'd simply phrase it as the entire storage area must be screened with privacy fence. Are they limited to the areas that are marked on their site plan for being outdoor storage?
This is the area that's outdoor storage over here, so
Okay.
they're defining their outdoor storage area as this area here.
So it's basically behind the building from 151.
When there's no leaves on the trees.
Right.
Right, kind of between, so it'd be between them and Lycon, if I'm understanding what's there correctly.
Capital scale.
Yeah. Was, with this kind of application, did it trigger them to have to send notices to the neighbors, or does that only happen if it's a variance?
I thought a conditional use permit also,
Variances receive notices.
yeah, okay. And there's no provision in the code for different different requirements if it's a similar zoning that abuts, right? Sometimes there are things that you have to put in for screening and
outdoor
privacy
sto-
and those
it's-
kind of things if it butts up against a residential district, right?
To me, it's clear the code requires privacy fencing for outdoor storage as a conditional use
Yeah.
permit.
Okay.
It's pretty clear. In the zoning rewrite, I will be advocating for this type of stuff in industrial zone not to be a conditional use permit because it's a lot of extra work where we can just write some code and have it approved administratively. This is the kind of stuff that we
Right.
want to smooth line.
Yep.
Because this is not privacy outdoor storage in a commercial district or a residential district. This is outdoor storage in an industrial district. And at least from my point of view, these are kinds of things that we want to streamline. in the
Yeah,
code.
where you can make it permitted use with standard conditions.
Yes.
Yes,
Standard requirements, yeah.
okay. But regardless, all right, I've talked a lot. Anybody have further comments?
I don't.
Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion of some type.
Are you gonna remember what it said? Do you want to refresh?
You know what, I could break tradition, I'll actually make the motion.
All right.
I'll make a motion to recommend approval to council for the site plan and conditional use permit as requested, with the conditions that are listed in the staff report, and in addition, a condition that the fence must entirely enclose the storage area.
I will second that motion.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those signify favor by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Okay. Moving on to our next item, which also includes a public hearing. This is a public hearing for, let me find my agenda. This is a public hearing for an ordinance revision of 114-95 outdoor storage of vehicles. I'll open the public hearing and ask if there is any member of the public that wishes to make comment. Anybody signed up, Mike?
No one signed up.
No one signed up. I'll ask a second time, is there any member of the public who wishes to make comment on this item? I'll ask a final time, is there any member of the public who wishes to make comment on ordinance revision for 114-95?
I'd like to revisit what we've already discussed as far as the outdoor storage issue.
We'll have the consideration item next.
Okay.
So, all right, hearing nothing from the public, I'll close this public hearing and move on to the commission considering and taking action regarding the ordinance amendment to outdoor storage of vehicles. Mr. Bright, you get the first crack.
Well, my first question is, as we drive through our city, we still see a tremendous amount of things on the front lawns and so on. What have we actually made a decision on so far?
Nothing.
We haven't, okay.
That's why the ordinance is here for you tonight. At a previous plan commission meeting, this body asked staff to bring forward this version for a public hearing. What I've highlighted on the screen there, and I can blow it up some more.
Oh, thank you, Mike. Oh,
I want to get rid of that. I'm going to zoom out just a little bit more. The change from the old version is what's highlighted in blue. And a lot of the discussion at the previous plan commission meetings centered around balancing aesthetics and property rights. So what's in blue is the language, how, it says earlier, said vehicles shall only be parked in rear yards and side yards of a parcel. And so the addition and only change to this ordinance, however, said vehicles may be parked on a paved driveway in the front yard. Recreational vehicles includes, and it lists the definition. So this allows people to park in the front yard, but only on a paved driveway. And that, to me, and I think that to me addresses the issue of people needing to park their boat or their camper. It still maintains the 35-foot maximum size in there that was in previously. But this is for your, this was the version you discussed previously.
Do we have to include boats in the blue highlighted, or because it's above, we're good?
Earlier it talks about watercraft. So it kind of cites it in the ordinance already. I think the reason I added we added the other ones is just to be a little bit more inclusive, because the definition was more narrow in other places, so.
Is this parking only on the property? This doesn't address street parking?
This does not address street
Okay,
parking.
so street parking is governed by
A
our,
different ordinance.
our street rules. All right. All right.
Did we not also talk about trying to streamline number 3? To not have all the 50 different flavors of different requirements? More or less just a trailer, and or did we want to leave all of that stuff in there? Does it matter if it's a watercraft or a camper? That's kind of what I'm trying to say.
I think the route we went is adding this last sentence rather than rewriting the whole paragraph.
This will go through zoning rewrite eventually anyway, right?
Well, not
It'll
if
be
they're-
reconsidered again,
Right.
but
Yeah.
it may end up
The
being
same.
but.
Right, but we don't need to sit and wordsmith because the intent is there and it'll be rewritten by,
It'll
people?
be, the whole code will be
Yeah.
readopted
Okay.
next year, so.
So the part of this that I don't like, for what it's worth, is said vehicles may be parked on a paved driveway in the front yard. And some boats and campers are new and shiny, and others look awful. And it's difficult to write something that, necessarily discriminates against that. I feel that with the variety of the types of vehicles that could be parked in a driveway 12 months a year, moving or not, I think it opens it up for some pretty ugly stuff to be in some front yards. And I like the rule where it needed to be at least on your side yard or behind the house. I feel like if we're going to explicitly allow it in the driveway, it should be perhaps for a limited amount of time. Whether we want to come up with something that's, you say it's going to be, 72 hours so that a person could have some, or whatever the hour limit might be for someone who's getting ready for a trip or coming back from a trip and cleaning it, that kind of thing. Or at least make it, if that bothers people and you want to say, well, okay, it's summer storage. You're using your camper every other weekend and you want to leave it there, fine. Let's say you can have it a maximum of 4 months. But I really don't like the idea of just letting it sit there eternally rotting, if that's, because you see that sometimes and it doesn't look good.
One of the things, as I researched this, drove around some of the neighborhoods, one of the items I did see, not a whole lot, I did see snowmobile trailers with like a covered snowmobile trailer out there. So beyond ATVs and campers and boats, there is the winter recreational sport vehicles as well.
So I still have a comment. So I 100% believe people should be able to park you know, some of their equipment on their property, particularly if it's paved and whatnot. My concern is somebody that has multiple toys that they fill up their driveway and or their side yard, whether or not it's paved or not, and then they park their vehicles on the street because that's legal, right? And particularly like my street's not wide enough to have toys in the driveway and then to have neighbors park on the street. So my question is, as far as parking on the street, I mean, you can park your automobile and you can park some things on the street, but you cannot park a UTV trailer on the street or a trailer in general, correct?
You can.
You can.
For a short
Under
period of
35
time.
feet. Right?
I'd have to look that up, what that specific parking ordinance is.
I just,
I think there's a time limit. I recall an instance where there was I think a boat on a trailer parked in the street for too long, and I think there was a violation out there
Well-
to that extent. So I think there's limits to that.
She brings up a good point. This language said vehicles may be parked on a paved driveway. And you could park your pack your driveway from end to end with multiple things if a person wanted to with this ordinance. Do we at least want to limit that language to one thing other than a car? I don't know. It seems like it's just kind of open for abuse.
It's probably, practically speaking, you're probably not gonna get more than two anyway, right? Just because people
Depends
don't
on
have
the
their
size of
whole,
the vehicle. If it's
and how much,
34
and how much
feet,
driveway you have, right?
If it's 34 feet, it would be more than likely one.
Right. I just mean it's, not gonna end up with 3 or 4 because driveways aren't that big. I do think that some of the issue that was trying to be resolved here is that there are many areas of the city that you don't have a big enough side yard to meet the ordinance. And if your backyard is big enough, maybe you don't have enough side yard to get to your backyard for a vehicle. So trying to provide some means of resolution for folks who have those type of yards. That's my understanding of sort of the barrier we're trying to overcome.
Yeah, I think the intent of this was, when we did the rewrite, or when we do a rewrite, we're probably gonna get into the nuts and the bolts of all of these things. I think what the council member had brought to our attention was, today you cannot park your boat in your driveway,
In the front yard.
in the front yard. I mean, that, end of story, that was the whole complaint of the old zoning. But I agree with everything everybody's saying. Aesthetics, you said, was addressed also?
Well, I think that
we talked about it.
talked about it, and I think the thing is, we're limiting it to a paved driveway rather than the entire front yard.
Okay.
So
there's-
I don't
there's
want
limits to that.
85% of the community to be inconvenienced because 15% of the community has a bunch of toys. That's where I was going with my comment.
Yeah, I understand that. I mean, me personally, I would rather have, if somebody's got a couple of toys, I'd rather see those in the driveway and vehicles on the street because that's easier to see from a traffic standpoint, like
Right.
see around a car or whatever.
And they should be moving
Right.
daily, right?
Well, that's a good point. I mean, because, you could have your car I mean, I know we have a permanent parking spot in front of our house because when the girls had cars. So some people, they permanently think that it's okay to park on the street 24/7 unless there's a snow or weather emergency.
Right.
Right. Yeah, so, and I think there's other resolutions available for, street parking, right? Like, where we live, right? There's now a lot more traffic because of the park, right? Should we actually have no parking on one side of our street because of that? But those are things that you can kind of develop over time. Maybe you don't come that way, I do.
No, we don't.
But those are the kind of things that if an issue starts popping up over time, there's a path to resolution for those too. And I mean, that's,
Well, I think we're off topic though, because we're talking about parking on the street, and this is an ordinance for parking in a driveway. So we kind of have to be careful here and stay on topic too.
Yeah, but I feel like the issues are related, like one
Exactly.
sort of.
One impacts the other.
One
Right.
issue creates the other,
It's- yeah,
so.
cause and effect,
Yeah.
right? People park in their driveway with their toys, what are they gonna do with their cars?
How would we feel
I
about,
mean, it's legal though to park on the street.
how would the group feel about sticking a time limit on it? And the other part about stopping people, trying to prevent dilapidated items being out there, require that it be a registered item, if applicable.
I've got a couple of ideas for you, Steve. So, number one, I think we talked about the dilapidated items, like, there's still I don't know what you call it, junk ordinance, right? There's still an ordinance that could apply to anything that's garbage, right? Number two, what about the idea of requiring that anything in the driveway be road ready? We use that term in some other zoning articles, especially for, I'm thinking floodplain, campground kind of stuff. Like, you can't have it not ready to go if you're in a floodplain.
bricks.
So,
Yeah.
so if it's not just on blocks in the or you can't have it on blocks in the driveway. It's got to be on something that you can actually take it out and
Road-ready.
move it. So,
No. I
would you,
disagree.
yeah, would you like to speak on that?
I can cite a property on Ludington. I don't know the address, but there's got to be 3 motorcycles and some other ATV products sitting in the grass looking like they're for sale. Grass isn't cut. It looks horrible. It's right on Ludington. That needs to stop.
Is that what, would this ordinance suddenly turn that into an acceptable situation?
Isn't it
So-
an acceptable situation today?
that
was not
acceptable under current.
Right, or future.
So
is it-
why do we look at it every day?
Is it in the front yard?
Yes.
It's actually both. It's a couple houses down
Yeah.
from me. They have stuff in the front yard and on the side, on the side yard.
And it's been there forever.
So what you're talking about, though, is an enforcement issue, not a
Yeah.
change
Exactly.
in this that's gonna.
We're talking about all these ordinances, but we're not even enforcing what we already have, that's my understanding.
Oh, believe me.
Comment well
it-
taken, but
It
that's.
has been enforced, and part of the reason we're here discussing this is complaints about the enforcement.
People have started getting tickets. Or,
So maybe that situation hasn't been addressed specifically, but that is the reality. The reason we're having this discussion today is enforcement actions were being taken, many, and that's why we're here today.
Well, I don't see any evidence of it,
Well,
personally.
Yeah.
Well,
like I said, that's your comment, but I think that's
Yeah.
related to enforcement, not whether this ordinance is gonna move the needle on that or not. Or suddenly turn that into an acceptable situation where it's not acceptable now.
And it does say in this ordinance, in residential districts, only one automobile may be parked on any unpaved surface. So I guess technically it doesn't allow motorcycles, but it does allow one car on the grass on any unpaved surface.
Any other comments?
if there's no more comments, I would be happy to make a motion to see what happens.
Float her out there.
Okay, I would like to make a motion to consider and take action regarding the ordinance amendment for outdoor storage vehicles 114-95 as written.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? I'm going to call on you specifically, Steve. If you,
I would have.
Plus,
liked
I'm gonna
to
fumble
see,
for these.
A time limit on outdoor parking.
You can make an amendment, and then if you get
You can make an amendment, and if you get a second, then the amendment can be voted on. right?
Okay, I would motion to make an amendment
I think that's correct.
to allow the, let's see here, the vehicles parked in a paved driveway in the yard for a limit of 3 months and must be road ready.
So we have a motion a motion and a second as written, and a motion with an amendment. Okay. So this is where my logic train breaks down. Do we have the-
You need a second.
You need a-
yes.
Yeah, you need
someone
a
needs to
second on that.
second it.
And then we vote on the amendment.
Thank you.
I would like to shorten that period. If I could amend that.
You can't, we have to see if there's a second and if the amendment dies, right?
Okay.
Any second to Steve's? No second. Do you want to make your own motion with a different,
My motion is
or an amendment?
an amendment to
theirs?
that would be a maximum of 30 days before we have to enforce the ordinance.
For the, what,
For the vehicles that are on unpaved,
So you're saying a limit of 30 days parking
For
for,
limited,
So it might read, however, said vehicles may be parked on a paved driveway in the front yard for no more than 30 consecutive days.
correct.
I would second that.
Okay. I have an amendment and a second on the amendment. So let's vote on the amendment. All those in favor of approving the ordinance as amended signify by aye.
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 All those opposed?
Nay.
No.
Nay.
eh,
All right. That amendment fails. Any further amendments?
Personally, I would think if we were gonna do some kind of amendment, it had to be longer, because it would have to be, you're talking May through September. If you're trying to make this ordinance useful for people to be able to use their stuff in the summertime. That's my 2 cents.
and my 2 cents is, we have an enforcement issue, potentially concern now, and now we're putting another enforcement requirement. Now we have to go out and mark tires, we have to do this, we have to put timers on every car that's on the street. I just don't think it's enforceable.
Yeah, I'm good with leaving it as is, and then when we do the zoning rewrite, we can have further discussion with the experts that do this for a day job and can recommend like industry best practice for what this is. But I think for now, allowing it on paved driveways should be fine.
I'm comfortable with that adaptive management solution.
I agree.
Oh.
Yeah, that's what we're paying professionals for, right?
Yeah, a lot of money.
Yeah.
So can we vote on
Other
the-
discussion?
Yeah.
I wasn't talking about paved driveways, I was talking about grass.
This whole conversation is about paved driveways.
Only paved driveways?
Yes.
Okay, I stand corrected then.
All right, I have a motion and a second. I'll call this, all those in favor of recommending approval to the council for the ordinance as written, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
Okay. On to council, as written. All right. Last item is simply a communication of recent zoning board of appeals actions. I see these are informative only, but there was a side yard reduction on lot 18 of Cardinal Heights and a parking lot setback reduction for KO Properties. That's the one we had last
yeah,
month,
the
right?
Subway and fitness
Subway,
center,
okay.
yep. And we have an upcoming zoning board of appeals on, at the September meeting for reduction of side yard setback for a garage and setback from a house. So the zoning board of appeals will be hearing that in September.
Okay. Which is lot 18 of Cardinal Heights?
The one, if you're standing in Park Avenue looking up O'Brien Court, it would be the first lot on the right. There was DOT
Yeah,
setbacks
okay, yep.
that our code doesn't take into account. And so you had a really big setback on one side, on one side because of the DOT, and because the side setbacks are a percentage of the lot width. So that was a wider lot, so I had larger side setbacks than the other lots. So the setback approved with a variance matches the side yard on lot 17 adjacent to it.
Okay.
So
I remember talking about that when that plat was here. That was kind of that.
it was one of those things, our code doesn't take into account DOT.
Right. And DOT said no to changing theirs, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They were
That's
not.
okay. All right.
So that you can still use that yard, but you can't build.
Right.
And there is options for variances in that, but they're very hard to get.
Yeah. Okay.
Are
Thanks.
are plat maps registered with the city
They get recorded at the county register of deeds.
at the county? So if I need a plat map, I need to go to the county?
You can download one online.
Or you can meet with me and see if I have a copy of it here at the city.
Or do that.
But the formal,
I would love to do that, Mike.
the formal plat is officially recorded at the county.
Because I'd like to maybe bring something to the zoning board of approval appeal group. I'll get,
All right.
We have some of the plats saved on our server.
Are we at the
All
start?
right.
We need a motion to
Adjourn.
adjourn.
I'll entertain.
Move to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor signify by aye. Aye. Opposed? We're adjourned.
Yeah, we had to have a zoning board